Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. Today I would like to show you my Paladin healing build for mod 18. This will be a general build made for running party content. You should be able to run all of the party content currently out there. However, you might have to switch out a few things if you wish to run the trial of the Mad Mage. Okay, so to begin with, when you're creating your character, you will have to choose your race. In my opinion, race does not matter so much at all. Just pick a race you like the look of. However, if you'd like to min-max and get the utmost performance out of your character, then I would choose a race which gives you bonus to dexterity and a bonus to wisdom ability scores. Dexterity will benefit your heals via crit severity, and wisdom directly through outgoing healing. Now let's move on to the powers and feats that you usually will be running with. When I run my healer, I like to use the following setup, as you can see right here for you. I like to run with the Valorous Strike, At Will, and Cure Wounds. With my encounter powers, I like to use Divine Touch as my main healing power, and then adjacent with that, I would run Sacred Weapon and Circle of Divinity. However, when Divine Touch doesn't seem to be enough and you're struggling to directly heal all of your party members because they're spread all about, then I would run with a Divine Shelter instead of Sacred Weapon. However, if you're in a mob environment and you're fine with your divinity regeneration, I would switch to Banishment and also Burning Light to stun the mobs, and therefore you won't even have to heal your party members because the mobs can't even do any damage to them. And then for our dailies, just generally run with Shield of Faith and Lay on Hands for when you need to heal the tank back to full HP as quick as possible. Now for our class features, I generally just run with Composure and with Aura of Restoration. Now for feats, you'll want to choose 2 up, 1 down, and 2 up. First feat, Critical Touch, is a unique feature for us healers. Basically, it allows us to critically heal everybody within our healing spell. Divine Touch. Basically, when it procs Critical Touch, 10% chance upon using your at-wills. You'll have to use Valorous Strike in combat to proc it. However, Cure Wounds you can just use just like this to proc it. And once it procs, just as you saw there, you will see a flashing dotted outline on the Divine Touch power itself. It will go away after 10 seconds, as you saw there, but while it's flashing, the next time you use your Divine Touch, it will critically heal on every target within the area. Our next feat, Prayer of Opportunity. Basically, whenever you use power, there's a chance you gain a stack of Prayer of Opportunity. You can see the stacks up here. They last for a total of a minute and stacks up to 3 times. And every time you channel your divinity using your tab power, it will use up one of those stacks and give you about 10% of your divinity back. Our third set of feat basically buffs Sacred Weapon to give it that extra divinity gain, and also buffs you by reducing the amount of damage you take by 10%. Divine Intervention, basically whenever you use Lay on Hands, it will basically give them basically a blue shield equal to half of the amount of hit points that you heal them for. Then our Emissary of Warding will basically, every time you critically heal somebody, you'll basically double the amount of shields that you give them. But basically that's when you don't crit, you see the amount of shield I have, and when you do crit, basically it increases it by easily times 4. So with mod 18 we got new gear, and the highest item level gear that we just got is 1250, which is the Lion Guard gear, which you can get by farming the Infernal Citadel for the currency and buying it in the campaign store. So What I do recommend running is the Lion Guard's headpiece. Basically, it gives you 5k power when your stamina is over 75%. However, the fancy duelist mask will do just as well when you're up against a boss with no other adds. Then for our chest place or armor piece, I would also run with the Lion Guard's piece. However, there are other options out there. You could use the Ebonized breastplate if you feel you generally spam your heals a lot more. I tend to only use my heal when I get a critical touch. There are other ones, high item level ones you can use just as well, like the clingy leather coat, the dark ritual robes will also do just fine. For our arms piece, I would again run with the Lion Guards. Basically, it gives you an extra 5,000 power after you hit mobs for 20 times. And yeah, basically buffs your power, which gives more healing. There are other options out there, like you could use the shielded defender vambraces just to take less damage, and spike defender vambraces to deal more damage. For our feet, I would use the infernal forged boots. Basically, it gives 4,800 power after being in combat for, I believe it's about 2 minutes nearly. You could also use your Mighty Storm Slippers. Basically, it gives you an extra 5,000 power when your action points are full. As a healer, we don't have to use our action points too often, so it is a viable option. Okay, so now for our weapons, we obviously want the Lionheart set. However, if you don't have the Lionheart set, then definitely take the Burnished set. It can be easily purchased with Seals of the Deep from a seals vendor. Now for our neck, waist, and artifact set, I would go with the Tiamat set. However, as a healer, it only is going to buff your heals by 5%, which you're not going to notice too much. So if you already have a set, then just go with it and take one of the newer sets, which basically will give you more HP than this set. For our rings, currently I like to use 2 striking rings of the Master. Basically, it gives you that extra critical strike. The reason for this is we need more critical strike than our power to gain 50% crit chance. We'll go into more depth when we get to our ratings. Then for our shirt and trousers, you want to just get the Infernal Forged shirt and trousers for Seals of the Fallen. Now for our artifacts, for our primary artifact, I generally like to run with Sigil of the Paladin. Basically buffs your party members who are within it with 15% more damage resistance. However, if your party requires more DPS, you could switch to Wyvern Coated Knives, and if a party member is already using it, there are definitely a lot more alternative artifacts you can use to also buff your party's DPS. For our secondary artifacts, I like to use 2 of the books along with the artifact to complete my set. The books basically give a little bit of bonus power and also a decent chunk of HP. Alternatively, if you can't get the books, I would switch to artifacts which give you bonus to 3,000 power, such as the Trobriand's Ring, there's the Halastra's Glass Scepter, there's the Staff of Flower, and there's also the newest artifact, the Book of Vile Darkness. Okay, so now for the ratings. The main ratings you want to concentrate on are power, and then you want to concentrate on working on crit. I would never sacrifice power for critical strike. So the reason why you need more critical strike than your power is because the way in which we critically heal, the chance is based upon the ratio between our power and our critical strike. We need 25% more critical strike than our power to equal 50% crit chance on our heals. You can't go over 50%, so it's no point stacking higher. So basically multiply your power by 1.25, and that's equal to how much critical strike you need to get that 50% crit heal chance. Keep in mind, it is not something I would really worry about when you are first starting out as a Paladin healer. It is only really a quality of life improvement for when you're running end game content and you need to make sure that that tank has the full shield before he takes the big hit or he might die. As a Paladin healer, don't sacrifice power for critical strike. It's not overly important. We have a feature which allows us to guarantee get a critical heal. Now, to help your survivability, you also do need to cap your defense. And if you want to run Trial of the Mad Mage, you will also want to cap your critical avoidance. So the enchantments you want to have. For your defense slots, you want to have Radiance for more HP. For our armor enchantment, ideally we want the Bark Shield. Bark Shields basically increase your survivability by able to block more hits. However, as a tank, the Elven Battle is greatly beneficial and basically will increase the rate at which you gain your stamina, which is equal to our shield, our guard. So I currently am using that. Now for our offense slots, you want to have Radiance, again, for more power. More power equals more outgoing healing. For our utilities, you want Tactical Enchantments. Tactical Enchantments will definitely help your own survivability by increasing the amount of healing that your heals do. For your weapon enchantment, definitely use a Vorpal. For our weapon modifications, on the main hand, it doesn't particularly matter. Currently, I have it buffing one of the at-wills for my tank, and on the offhand, you want the extra power and the extra crit severity. So now for our companions. The main summoned companion you want to have is a Augment companion. When first starting out, the Ion Stone of Radiance would be a very good augment companion to use, since you will want to upgrade it to Legendary anyway to get its full bonus of the 10% outgoing healing. So for Runestones, you just want your rank 15 bondings. For our equipment, ideally you want to have everything that will give you a bonus to critical strike, to gain that balance between your power and critical strike, giving you that 50% heal chance. For our offense slots in our companion gear, you want your empowered runestones for more of that power. Now for our passive companion slots, you want to have all the ones that give bonus to outgoing healing. So the one you can have in offense is just the Neverwinter Guard, will give you 10% more outgoing healing at Legendary. Then there's the Polar Bear Cob, which will give you 10% outgoing healing also on Legendary. The Ion Stone of Radiance, which will give you 10% outgoing healing. And the Cell Sword, or the Rebel Mercenary, which will give you 10% outgoing healing. Then for our third defense slot, there is nothing that will give 10% outgoing healing, so we just use the Minstrel, which gives 4,000 more power. So moving on to our mounts. On our current mount page, you want to have your Dominant Force bonus here, basically a bonus to power. With legendary mounts, you can get that up to 10,000, but I wouldn't particularly invest in it unless you've nothing else to spend on. As our active mount power while in combat, doesn't particularly matter, but if you had the AD to waste, I would purchase either the Armored Griffin or the Tyrannosaurus Rex to buff your party members. And then for our stable tab, we have our insignias and our other mounts. So, for our insignias, you generally want to have our dominance insignias and brutality insignias. For our insignia bonuses, you want to have 3 Gladiator's Guile, giving you a total of 17.5 extra movement speed. Basically, it has diminishing returns, so the first one will give you 10% movement, second one 5%, and the third one 2.5%. Then for our other 2 insignia bonuses, it doesn't really matter. I just chose the ones here that are most beneficial, and that would probably be whenever you critical strike, you receive a heal, and whenever you're stunned, knocked, or whatever, you also receive a heal. I do not have Dominance or Brutal Insignias to fill out these 2 slots, so I just have HP ones, Prosperity and Fortitude from my tanking build. There is not much harm in doing so. As a healer, it is not too important to completely min-max your character. So we'll move on to our boons. With our boons, you just want to stack power all the way up. On the way up, you definitely want to take the Marathon Runner, giving a bonus to movement speed. Then you want to take also Simple Support, bonus to Companion Influence. And then on our tier 5 boons, you want to take the Crit Severity and also the Outgoing Healing. Then for our Master boon, you can choose between Blessed Advantage and Blessed Resilience. Both of them will help your party. Blessed Resilience will help the tank, and Blessed Advantage will slightly help the DPS. Moving on to our guild boons, ideally you want to have the Power boon or the Crit Severity boon. Ideally the Crit Severity boon because of our Critical Touch feat, where we can get a guaranteed critical touch, and basically Crit Severity will help more so than Power. Then for our defensive boons, ideally you want to take the HP, however if you're missing defense, then I would take defense, or whatever boon your guild has available. For utility, it doesn't particularly matter. However, if you feel you die once or twice in your content, choose the Revive Sickness boon, and basically will have the effect that the Revive Sickness stacks have on you. Alright, so I believe that's everything, apart from our consumables. For consumables, definitely I would always use these 2 potions, Wildstorm Elixir and Superior Flask Potency. Wildstorm Elixir will give you 10% more crit severity, helping out in creating those bigger shields, and Superior Flask Potency giving you 77.5 extra crit severity, also helping those shields. Now for our food, you could use the Watermelon Sorbet, giving you there about 10,000 more power, depending on your base power. However, Watermelon Sorbet is rather expensive and costly, so I would generally just run with Squash Soup, basically increasing your critical chance by 3% and your crit severity by an additional 5%. Okay, so I think that's everything. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I should get back to you within a day or so, and we'll see you in the next one, and goodbye for now.